The night was cold, silent, and full of strange lights. Ethan Walker, a lone human engineer, sat beside the smoking engine of his crashed ship. His hands were shaking from exhaustion. His oxygen levels were dropping. The air tasted metallic, heavy, and unfamiliar. He knew he had only a few hours before the rising beasts came out from the alien forest behind him. He tried to repair the ship again, but the tools slipped from his weak fingers. Every sound in the darkness made him tense. The wind carried a low hum. Like something huge was moving between the trees. Ethan lifted his flashlight. Something was moving. The ground trembled. Slow, heavy steps, each louder than the last. The fog at the edge of the clearing thickened, turning into a white wall. The forest went silent. Even the insects stopped. Ethan's breath froze in his chest. From the fog, a massive shadow appeared, tall, wide, shaped like a woman but far bigger than any human. 7, maybe 8 feet tall. Her skin glowed faint blue, and her long dark hair was covered in dust and blood. She was armored, but the armor was cracked. As if she had survived a war moments ago, Ethan stumbled back. His heart racing, the giant figure stopped a few feet away from him. Her glowing eyes studied him quietly, almost gently. Then her lips parted. "You are human," she said in a deep, soft voice. Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't. She stepped closer. Now Ethan could see the silver markings on her face, symbols of royalty or war. And then he noticed something shocking. She was wounded. A long cut across her shoulder dripped thick violet blood. She was dangerous, but also desperate. She looked at him again, and her voice dropped to a whisper that sent chills down his spine. "You need safety, and I need a husband." Ethan shook his head, thinking he misheard. A husband? Him. But before he could react, she continued, her tone calm but urgent. "My people need powerful children. You humans make strong children. Brave, stubborn, loyal. I choose you." Ethan felt the world tilt. This giant alien widow had chosen him. He tried to step back, but his foot hit a rock, and he fell. She didn't move to harm him. Instead, she knelt slowly, making herself smaller, lowering her massive height so she did not tower over him. "My name is Vora," she said. "I am a widow of the Warblood tribe. My husband died in battle. My people will force me to choose another mate, or kill me." She paused. Her eyes softened. "I do not want one of them. I want you." Ethan's mind raced. This was insane, impossible. He felt like he was trapped in someone else's dream. "Why? Me?" Ethan finally whispered. Vora looked at his ship, then at the small burns on his hands. "I watched you fight earlier today," she said. "You protected alien children who were not even yours. You fought beasts bigger than you. You ran into fire to save the small ones." Ethan swallowed. He remembered. It had all happened so fast. A burning market, screaming families, the wild animal that burst through the trees. He had just tried to help. Nothing heroic, but she had seen something else in it. "You humans fear death," she added softly, "but you still protect others. That is power." Before Ethan could speak, the ground vibrated again. Vora suddenly turned her head toward the forest, her eyes glowing brighter. She stood up, her body stiff. "They found me," she whispered. Ethan's blood ran cold. "Who found you?" "My tribe," she said. "The ones who want to force me into their arms. The ones who want my next child for war." Ethan's heartbeat thundered in his ears. "And what do they want with me?" Vora looked at him with a strange expression, half warning, half apology. "They will kill you." A rustling sound echoed in the trees. Ethan grabbed his flashlight and pointed it toward the forest. He saw shadows, tall shapes moving fast, spreading out. They were hunting. And closing in, Ethan's fear turned into panic. "I can't outrun them," he whispered. "No," Vora agreed. "You cannot." She stepped closer and placed her massive hand behind him, shielding him from the darkness. "But I can protect you," she said. "If you stay with me." Ethan stared up at her. She was huge, terrifying. But her eyes were honest, maybe even kind. "If I say no?" Ethan asked. Vora didn't blink. "Then I protect you anyway. But you will die by sunrise." Ethan's lungs tightened. The shadows in the trees were moving faster now. He could hear clicking sounds, alien speech. Vora extended her hand toward him. Not a threat. A choice. A giant widow asking a human man to stand with her. Her voice lowered into a whisper again. The same whisper that had frozen him moments ago. "Come with me. You need safety, and I need you." The forest cracked open behind them as 3 tall hunters stepped out, their weapons glowing red. Ethan didn't think anymore. He grabbed Vora's hand, and she pulled him into the fog just as the hunters charged. Asterisk fog wrapped around Ethan like a cold blanket as Vora pulled him through the shattered forest path. Her massive hand covered half of his arm, yet her grip was careful, strong, but never hurting him. Behind them, red lights moved between the trees like angry fireflies. The hunters were tracking fast. Vora's voice was low but sharp. "Do not look back. They smell fear." Ethan looked back. 3 tall shadows slipped between the trees. Their bodies were long and armored with dark plates. Their faces were hidden behind bone masks. They carried red-bladed spears that hummed like angry insects. Vora stopped suddenly, and pushed Ethan behind a fallen tree. "Stay low," she whispered. Ethan crouched, his heart pounding so hard he felt it in his chest. Vora stood in front of him like a tower, one arm lifted, ready to fight. Her violet blood dripped down her arm, falling onto the leaves with soft taps. The hunters stepped into the clearing. They spread out in a triangle shape, practiced, deadly. Silent .1 pointed at Vora. A deep clicking sound came from his mask. Ethan swallowed. What did he say? Vora didn't take her eyes off them. "He said I broke the widow law, that I must return. With them and me." Vora's jaw tightened. "You will not survive if they take me." Before Ethan could reply, the nearest hunter charged. Vora moved so fast even Ethan couldn't track it, a blur of blue light and muscle. Her fist collided with the hunter's chest, sending him crashing into a tree so hard the wood split. But she staggered afterward. Her wound was slowing her. The other 2 hunters circled like wolves around a wounded bear. Ethan felt useless. He reached for a rock, anything he could throw. But his hands were shaking. Vora growled, "Do not fight. You are not ready." A hunter lunged. His red blade sliced across Vora's shoulder. She hissed in pain and swung back, breaking his spear in half, but he kicked her hard, knocking her into the dirt. Ethan's breath caught. Vora pushed herself up, panting. "If they take me alive," she said, "they will use me for a child I do not want. A child they will raise for war." The hunter stepped forward, grabbing her by the throat. Ethan didn't think. He picked up the rock and slammed it into the hunter's mask. The mask cracked. The hunter turned toward Ethan with a slow, cold stare. Ethan stumbled back, right into a second hunter who grabbed him by the collar. Ethan yelled and kicked, but it was like kicking a wall. Vora screamed, a deep, painful sound that shook the air. Her body glowed with sudden bright light. She slammed her elbow into the hunter, holding her, breaking his arm. Then she leaped toward Ethan with surprising speed. She grabbed the hunter holding Ethan and tossed him into a tree like a dead branch. Ethan fell to the ground, coughing. But the victory was brief. The last hunter activated a strange device on his wrist. A loud pulse echoed across the forest, a beacon. Ethan froze. What was that? Vora's face went pale. They called the pack. How many? She looked at him, eyes burning with fear and anger. Dozens. Ethan's heart dropped. We can't stay here. No, she said. We run. She lifted him with one arm and threw him over her shoulder like he weighed nothing. Ethan grabbed onto her armor as she sprinted through the forest. Her steps shook the ground, branches snapped under her feet, and trees flashed past like dark ghosts. Behind them, more red lights appeared, dozens. Just like she said, Vora jumped over a broken log and slid down a slope, landing hard but steady. She didn't stop. She didn't even breathe heavily. Ethan realized she was running toward a huge, dark structure half buried under vines. What is that? Ethan asked. A fallen tower of my people, she answered. It is old. But safe. How safe? She paused for half a heartbeat. Safe. Enough. A roar echoed behind them. The pack was close. Very close. Vora reached the tower entrance, a cracked metal doorway leading into darkness. Ethan whispered. They won't follow us in there, right? Vora looked into the darkness. No. Something far worse lives inside. Ethan blinked. Worse. She placed her hand on his shoulder. But it will not hurt us. If you stay close. Behind them, the hunters broke through the trees. Vora grabbed Ethan's hand. We enter now. And together. They stepped into the ancient tower just as the hunters' spears lit the forest red again. Inside the ruined tower, darkness swallowed everything. Ethan held Vora's hand tightly as they stepped deeper into the broken hallway. The air felt old, heavy, and filled with memories. Strange vines crawled across the walls like glowing green veins. Every few seconds, Ethan heard something. Crawling above them, Vora lifted her other hand, and a faint blue light formed on her palm, revealing more of the ancient place. This tower belonged to my mother's tribe, she whispered. They built it before the Great War. Ethan looked around. The architecture was strange, tall arches, spiraling symbols, and huge stone plates carved with scenes he couldn't understand. He whispered, Is it safe here? Safe from the hunters, she said. Not safe from its past. Her words made Ethan's skin crawl. He followed her into a larger chamber where the ceiling had collapsed, letting moonlight fall in a broken circle on the floor. Dust floated like silver snow. Vora sat down slowly, breathing hard. Her wound was worse now. Ethan kneeled beside her. You're bleeding too much, he said softly. You need help. She smiled weakly. You help already. More than you know. Ethan tore a piece from his shirt and pressed it on her wound. She didn't flinch. Her skin felt warm, strong, but trembling under his hands. Why are you doing this for me? She asked suddenly. Ethan blinked. Doing what? She looked directly into his eyes, her glowing blue gaze soft, almost human. Helping me, protecting me. Humans are small, fragile. Yet you stand against giants without fear. Ethan let out a breath. I'm afraid. A lot, I just don't like watching innocent people suffer. Her eyes widened a little. That is why I chose you. He swallowed. You said something earlier. About your husband. About your tribe. What really happened, Vora? She shifted slightly, leaning against the broken pillar behind her. The blue light from her hand dimmed as she began speaking. I was bonded to a war chief, strong, powerful, respected. But he was also cruel. To his enemies. To his people. To me, Ethan felt his chest tighten. He hurt you? Vora looked down. In my culture, widows of war chiefs are considered sacred, They must remarry quickly to secure the bloodline. But I refused. My tribe said I dishonored them, so they hunted you. Yes, because they believe I hold the warblood, a rare strength. They want my next child. A child to lead their armies. Ethan frowned. And what about you? What do you want? For a moment, Vora didn't answer. Then she whispered, I want a life that belongs to me, not to a prophecy, not to a tribe, not to a war. Ethan felt something shift between them. Not romance, not yet, but trust. A growing connection, she continued softly, when I saw you protect those children. Something in me changed. Ethan nodded slowly. I didn't do much. You did enough, she said. You showed courage without power. That is something our warriors lost long ago. Suddenly, something moved behind them, a low, crawling sound across the wall. Ethan turned quickly. A large creature, a shadow-like insect with long legs, crawled along the ceiling. Its eyes glowed gold. Ethan jumped back. What is that? Vora lifted her hand. Do not fear. It is a guardian. The creature stopped and stared at her. It didn't attack. Instead, it lowered its head slowly, as if bowing. Ethan whispered, You said something worse than hunters lives here. Yes, Vora said. But the guardians were made to recognize war-blooded leaders. They protect the chosen. Ethan stared at her. So, you're the one they're protecting. Vora nodded silently. The guardian crawled closer and curled beside Vora like a loyal animal. Ethan watched in disbelief. The creature's golden eyes settled on him, curious but calm. You are safe here, Vora assured him. As long as you stay by my side. But Ethan sat beside her, still shaken. Vora. Earlier you said humans make strong children. Brave ones. Loyal ones. But why would your people think that? Humans are weaker than you. Vora touched her chest lightly. Strength is not muscle. Strength is choice. Heart, loyalty. She looked at him again. You humans have something my people lost during the war: compassion. Ethan lowered his eyes. She added quietly. And compassion creates powerful children. Before Ethan could absorb her words, a deep thumping sound echoed through the tower footsteps. Heavy ones. Many of them, Ethan's blood ran cold. They're here. Vora stood up, even with her injuries. No, she said softly. They are outside. And they fear entering this place. But then her face turned serious, almost fearful. Someone else is coming. Someone stronger. Ethan swallowed hard. Who? Vora whispered. The warlord. My husband's brother. A chill ran through Ethan's spine. And what does he want? Vora looked toward the entrance of the tower. He wants me alive. And you dead. The tower shook as heavy footsteps echoed from outside. Dust fell from the ceiling. Even the glowing vines dimmed, as if the tower itself feared the one approaching. Ethan's breath grew tight. He could hear armor clashing, weapons humming, and the deep war chant of the hunters gathering at the entrance. Vora stood still, her large frame tense. Her wound leaked violet blood, but her eyes glowed bright, brighter than before. Ethan whispered, That's him. The warlord. Vora nodded slowly. He is stronger than the hunters, more cruel. If he captures me, he will claim me as his right. Ethan felt a cold wave of fear run through him and me. Vora turned, her expression dark. You will die quickly. He hates humans. Ethan swallowed, feeling the guardian insect stir beside them. It sensed danger, too. The warlord's voice boomed from outside the chamber, deep and echoing through the walls. Vora, widow of the warblood. Come out. Ethan flinched. The guardian hissed. Vora didn't move. Her jaw tightened. He wants me to surrender, she whispered. Ethan stared at her. You're not going out there, right? Vora looked at him, and Ethan read the truth in her eyes. She was considering it, to protect him. He stepped forward. No, Ethan said. Don't even think about it. You cannot fight him, Vora said gently. You are brave, but small. He will crush you. Ethan clenched his fists. Then let him crush me. I'm not letting you walk into a trap. She stared at him for a long moment. Something shifted in her chest, a feeling she hadn't allowed for a long time. Someone was willing to stand for her, not against her. Before she could speak, the warlord growled again. You hide behind ghosts and old stones, but I will take what is mine. Then something slammed into the tower, shaking it so hard Ethan almost fell. The entrance cracked open. Red light spilled in like blood. 3 hunters marched in, their masks glowing with runes. Vora pushed Ethan behind her instantly. The hunters moved fast. One tried to grab her shoulder, but she spun, striking him with her full weight. He flew into a pillar, breaking it clean in half. The other 2 grabbed her arms, locking her movement. Ethan, run! Vora shouted. But Ethan didn't run. He grabbed a broken metal rod from the floor. His hands shook, but he stood his ground. One of the hunters lifted Vora by her arms. Her feet hovered off the ground. She kicked and twisted, but she was losing strength. Ethan charged. He swung the rod at a hunter's mask. Sparks flew, and the mask cracked. The hunter stumbled back. Vora gasped. Her eyes widened. Ethan, no. But Ethan didn't stop. He hit again and again until the rod bent in his hands. The hunter turned toward him. Furious, Ethan froze. The hunter grabbed him by the neck, lifting him like a doll. Ethan's feet dangled in the air. His vision blurred. Vora's scream shook the tower. A blinding blue light burst from her skin. The runes on the walls lit up as if awakening. The guardian insect screeched and crawled. Rapidly across the ceiling, Vora broke free with explosive force. She slammed her elbow into one hunter's ribs. The sound of cracking armor echoed through the hall. Then she jumped and grabbed the one holding Ethan by the throat. Her massive hand crushed the armored forearm until the hunter had to release Ethan. Ethan dropped to the ground, coughing violently. Vora stepped in front of him like a living shield. Her breath loud and furious. Touch him again, she growled, and I will tear your tribe apart. The hunters hesitated, even they were afraid. But the warlord had arrived. A tall figure stepped into the chamber. He was larger than Vora, maybe 9 feet tall, with heavy armor, horned helmet, and glowing red eyes behind the mask. His presence felt like a storm. He looked at Ethan first. So this is the human, he said, with amusement. The tiny creature you protect. Vora stepped forward half a step, blocking Ethan from view. He is not yours to judge, she spat. The warlord's mask tilted slightly. You break the widow law. You refuse the tribe's command. You choose a weak outsider over your own blood. He pointed at Ethan with his massive spear. That human dies, and you come with me. Ethan struggled to stand. Vora bared her teeth, her voice trembling with fury. I will never belong to you. The warlord's eyes glowed brighter. Then I will drag you. He charged. The tower shook. The guardian dropped down from the ceiling with a scream. Vora pushed Ethan toward a stone alcove. Hide, she whispered. Do not come out, but please. It wasn't a command. It wasn't fear. It was the closest thing to tenderness a warrior like her had ever spoken. Ethan's heart throbbed. He stepped back into the alcove just as Vora and the warlord collided their clash, sending shockwaves through the ancient tower. The battle for her freedom, and for Ethan's life, had begun. The battle inside the tower sounded like thunder trapped in a stone cage. Ethan crouched inside the alcove, hands pressed against his ears as Vora and the warlord fought like two living storms. Every strike shook the ground. Every clash sent dust raining from the ceiling. Vora's roar echoed through the chamber. The warlord answered with a deep growl that made Ethan's skin crawl. The guardian insect leaped at the warlord, but he struck it aside like a toy. The creature smashed into a pillar. Dazed, Ethan wanted to help, but what could he do? His heart hammered painfully as he watched Vora fight with all her strength, yet still losing ground. She was wounded, exhausted, been facing a warrior twice her weight. The warlord slammed Vora into a wall so hard the stone cracked. She gasped, falling to her knees. Ethan couldn't stay hidden anymore. He stepped out. "Stop!" Ethan shouted, voice trembling but loud. "She doesn't want to go with you." The warlord turned toward him slowly, amused. "You? Speak to me." His mask flickered with red light. "You are nothing. A weak creature in a war you cannot understand." A coup. Ethan didn't back away. "Maybe I am nothing. But she chose freedom. Not you." The warlord lifted his spear. He pointed it directly at Ethan's chest. "Your courage is foolish, but your death will be fast." He stepped forward before he could strike. Vora rose again, her body glowing with bright blue light, brighter than before. Her voice shook the chamber. "Touch him, and face the wrath of the warblood." She tackled the warlord with sudden, explosive rage. Ethan stumbled backward, heart racing as they crashed through the broken stones of the wall. The warlord regained his footing and grabbed Vora by the hair, slamming her down. "You think you are special?" he snarled. "You think you can break traditions? You are nothing without the prophecy." Ethan blinked. Prophecy. The word echoed in his mind. Before he could speak, the warlord grabbed Vora by the throat and lifted her. Ethan felt panic rise inside him. "Vora." She struggled to breathe. Her legs kicked, but her energy was fading. "You were meant to produce the child of war," the warlord growled. "A child whose power will control the tribes. A hybrid child stronger than any pure blood." He tilted his head toward Ethan, and the father must be chosen by the mark of courage. Ethan felt a strange chill. The warlord continued, voice heavy with hate, and somehow that mark fell on this tiny human. Ethan stared. "What mark?" "I never," the warlord roared. "You saved my nephew." Ethan froze. "My what?" The warlord slammed Vora against another pillar. "Earlier today in the burning market, you pulled a child from the flames. That child is of my bloodline." Ethan remembered the young alien boy he rescued. He hadn't known he belonged to anyone important. The warlord's eyes glowed with fury. "That act placed the mark of courage upon you. It means any hybrid child created with you would have unstoppable strength, both human bravery and warblood power." Ethan's voice shook. "You mean? This is all because I saved a boy?" "Yes," the warlord hissed. "My tribe wants that strength. Wants Vora to carry the prophecy forward. But she refuses. She is selfish, weak, broken." Vora snapped back with a punch to the warlord's jaw, sending him staggering. "I am not broken," she whispered fiercely. "And I do not belong to your prophecy." Ethan stepped toward them slightly. Vora shouted, "Ethan, stay back." The warlord wiped blood from his mouth. Enough games. He reached for a device on his belt, a black crystal sphere covered in ancient runes. Vora's eyes widened in fear. "No." She stepped back. "Not that." Ethan looked at the device. "What is that?" The warlord held it up proudly. "The Archive of Prophecies." He smashed it against the floor. The sphere cracked open, and a thin mist spread through the room. Holographic symbols exploded into the air, floating pictures. Glowing phrases, ancient drawings of giant figures, and small humans standing together. Ethan stared in awe. One image showed a tall warrior woman holding a human man's hand. Another showed a child glowing in two colors, blue and white. Ah, hybrid child, a savior, Ethan whispered. That's me and Vora. The warlord laughed darkly. You see now? This has been written for centuries. The widow of Warblood must choose a human with courage. The child they create will unite tribes or destroy them. Vora looked at Ethan with a mix of fear and something deeper. Something vulnerable. I did not know of this prophecy fully, she said softly. I only knew my tribe wanted a hybrid child. I thought they only wanted power. But now I see they want control of destiny itself. Ethan's heart pounded. So this is why they're hunting you. And trying to kill me? Yes, Vora whispered. Because destiny marked you. And because I chose you, before knowing why. The warlord stepped forward. The human dies. The prophecy continues with someone else. Ethan braced himself. But Vora stepped between them. Her voice shook the air. You will not touch him. The warlord raised his spear, and the entire tower roared with a new sound, something ancient. Something waking up. The tower shook as the ancient sound grew louder. The walls glowed with forgotten symbols. Even the warlord paused, his spear lowering slightly. The ground trembled beneath them like something vast was awakening beneath the stone. Vora grabbed Ethan's wrist. We must leave. Now. Ethan nodded quickly, adrenaline flooding his veins. The warlord snarled and charged, but the guardian insect suddenly leaped between them, screeching with fury. Its massive legs slammed into the warlord's chest, slowing him just enough. Vora shoved Ethan toward a broken side corridor. Run! She yelled. Ethan sprinted beside her through a long passageway filled with cracked stone arches. Behind them, the warlord's roar echoed violently. You cannot escape destiny. Vora pushed open a shattered exit door, and a cold wind rushed in. Outside lay the Forbidden Valley, a long stretch of jagged cliffs, glowing pools, and ancient machines half buried in the earth. The valley was silent, shimmering with a strange blue mist. Ethan hesitated. This place looks cursed. It is, Vora said calmly. But the hunters fear it. They will not follow quickly. She crouched down. Climb on. You are too slow on foot. Ethan climbed onto her back awkwardly. She adjusted her grip, making sure he wouldn't fall. You're hurt, Ethan said softly. You shouldn't be carrying me. She glanced back slightly. I can carry mountains. You are light. And then she ran. Her footsteps were thunder. Her speed was unbelievable. The wind roared in Ethan's ears, and the world blurred around them. They passed old metal spires rising from the ground like skeletal fingers. Strange floating stones drifted slowly above the valley floor. Ethan had never seen anything like this world. After several minutes, Vora slowed near an ancient machine lying on its side. Once it had been a giant mechanical guardian. Now it was only a rusted relic. Vora carefully set Ethan down. Her breath trembled. Her wound leaked again. Ethan stepped close. You're bleeding badly. It will heal, she said, but her voice was weaker. Ethan pressed the cloth on her shoulder again. You protected me. More times than I can count. Let me help you. She looked at him quietly, like no one had cared for her wounds in years. You humans, she whispered. You care too easily. That's not a flaw, Ethan said softly. For a moment, Vora didn't reply. She simply closed her eyes, letting Ethan stabilize her arm. Then, in a low voice, I saw the prophecy in the archive, and I feared it. Ethan looked up. Feared it? Why? Because it says a widow must choose a human to bring a powerful child. But I did not want to be forced by fate. Ethan sat beside her. And do you think fate forced you? Vora turned her massive head toward him. No, she said quietly. I think I chose you long before any prophecy spoke. Ethan felt warmth in his chest. Maybe it was fear, maybe shock, maybe something deeper forming slowly between them. Before he could answer, loud crack echoed through the valley. Ethan jumped. What was that? Vora rose instantly. The warlord, she growled. He entered the valley. How? I thought they feared this place. They fear it, Vora said, but he hates me more. She grabbed Ethan's hand firmly. We must reach the upper ridge. From there, we can reach the silent caves. Ethan frowned. Silent caves. They hide sound, heat, and scent. The warlord cannot track us there. They began moving toward the ridge. The path was narrow, lined with sharp crystal formations humming with low vibrations. Ethan felt like he was walking through a sleeping creature's ribcage. Halfway up the ridge, Ethan slipped on loose gravel. Vora caught him instantly, pulling him against her armored chest. Careful, she said softly. I cannot lose you. Ethan looked up at her, stunned by her tone. You won't. Vora's eyes softened, glowing faint blue in the mist. I hope destiny agrees, she whispered. But destiny didn't agree. A red beam shot past them, burning a hole into the cliffside. The warlord's voice echoed up the valley. Vora, you cannot run forever. The prophecy is mine, and so is the child. Vora pushed Ethan behind a rock. He is close, she said. He is faster in this terrain. Ethan's voice shook. What do we do? Vora stared up at the sky. There is only one way. She knelt in front of him. Ethan, I will distract him. You must reach the caves alone. No? Ethan grabbed her arm. I'm not leaving you. You must, she insisted. If he kills you, everything ends. The prophecy, the tribes, my freedom. Ethan shook his head violently. I don't care about the prophecy. Vora looked at him, really looked. And what about me? She whispered. Don't you care about me? Ethan froze. Yes, he did. More than he understood until now. Before he could answer, the warlord's shadow appeared at the bottom of the ridge. Vora stood tall. Her body glowed with blue fire. Stay behind me, she said. This time, Ethan obeyed. Because the final confrontation had begun. Asterisk. The sky over the Forbidden Valley darkened as storm clouds rolled in. Blue mist swirled around the cliffs like swirling ghosts. Ethan stood behind Vora, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might break through his chest. The warlord climbed the ridge slowly, step by heavy step. Each step made the cliff vibrate. His armor glowed like molten metal, markings burning red. He carried a massive spear, the blade humming with violent energy. Vora stepped forward, blocking Ethan completely with her huge frame. Stay behind me, she said quietly. Her voice was calm, too calm. Like she already accepted what must happen. The warlord stopped only a few feet away. His voice boomed, echoing off the cliffs. Vora, last chance, surrender. The human dies either way. Vora didn't move. Her body glowed brighter, blue light pulsing under her skin. You will not touch him, she said. The warlord tilted his head. You choose a fragile outsider over your own bloodline. I choose freedom, Vora answered, and he chooses me. The warlord laughed. A human cannot love a giant. He only follows fear. Ethan stepped out from behind Vora before she could stop him. "I'm not afraid of her," he said firmly. "I'm afraid of losing her." Vora stiffened, as if those words touched something deep inside her. The warlord's rage spiked. "You dare claim her? You?" He lunged forward, spear aimed directly at Ethan. Vora moved faster than Ethan had ever seen. She slammed her arm into the spear, redirecting the blow so violently the blade carved through the cliffside instead. Sparks exploded. Rock shattered. The warlord spun and struck Vora across the face, sending her crashing into the ground. She slid across the rocky ridge, leaving a trail of violet blood. Vora. Ethan screamed. She pushed herself up, breathing hard but still standing. The warlord stalked toward her. "You are weak," he growled. "A widow of shame." Vora wiped the blood from her mouth. "I am strong enough to choose my own destiny." Her body burst into full glow, bright blue flames swirling around her arms, her chest, her legs. Her eyes burned like twin stars, for the first time. The warlord hesitated. Vora charged. The collision shook the entire valley. Ethan shielded his eyes from the blast of energy. Vora struck the warlord with a flurry of blows, faster, stronger, fiercer than ever before. Her punches cracked his armor. Her kicks threw him against rock walls. Her roar shook birds from the sky, but the warlord fought back brutally. He grabbed her by the throat and slammed her onto the ground. Vora cried out. Coughing, Ethan's chest tightened with helpless terror. The warlord lifted his spear again, aiming for her heart. "No," Ethan whispered. "No, no." He grabbed a fallen stone shard, sharp enough to cut his hand, and charged at the warlord from behind. He stabbed the shard into the warlord's thigh. The warlord roared in fury. He turned and backhanded Ethan with such force Ethan flew in the air and crashed onto the rocks. Pain exploded in his body. His vision blurred. "Ethan." Vora screamed. Something inside her snapped. She rose with a wild, furious strength that didn't look mortal. Her glow intensified until her entire body looked like living blue fire. She smashed her forehead into the warlord's mask, cracking it. Straight down the center, the warlord fell to his knees. Vora grabbed his spear, turned it around, and pointed the tip at him. He froze. His voice lowered to a whimper. "You would kill your own blood. For a human." Vora's voice trembled, but remained steady. "He is more tribe to me than you ever were." And with one swift movement, she slammed the spear into the ground beside the warlord's head, a warrior's sign of total rejection. "I break all ties," she said. "I choose Ethan." The warlord stared at her, beaten in body, pride, and destiny. He crawled away slowly, disappearing down the ridge. The valley fell silent. Vora ran to Ethan and knelt beside him. "Ethan, stay awake. Please." Her voice shook with more fear than any battle. Ethan coughed, forcing a weak smile. "You saved me again, giant lady." She let out a breath that was half a laugh, half a sob. "You are hurt. So are you." Ethan whispered. She touched his cheek gently. With her huge hand, "You should not love a giant," she murmured softly. Ethan met her glowing eyes. Too late. Her breath caught. She lifted him carefully into her arms, holding him close to her warm chest. The storm clouds parted slightly above them, letting a soft light fall across the valley. Ethan whispered, "What happens now?" Vora looked toward the distant mountains, the silent caves, their only hope. "Now," she said, "we choose our own path. Not prophecy. Not war. Just us." Ethan closed his eyes, trusting her completely. Vora held him tighter, and together they walked into the mist, toward a future the prophecy never planned. But destiny could not stop.